Hello and welcome to the African Tech Roundup. This is where we round up the week's most important tech, digital and innovation news from across the African continent. My name is Andile Masubu and this is episode number 101. Now we're still in celebration mode for crossing 100 weekly podcasts in a row. And last week we published a great panel discussion that we taped at the African Tech Roundup Live State of the Startup event we hosted at Alpha Code in Sandton a couple of weeks ago. And as promised, this week we'll be sharing more awesomeness from that event. It's a fireside chat with a pretty stand-up dude who has loads of insights to share on starting up in Africa as well as navigating corporate Africa at the highest level. So you don't want to miss my chat with the one and only Musa Kalenga. But before we get to that, this episode of the African Tech Roundup is brought to you by Europe's preeminent African tech event, the Afrobytes Tech Conference, that's going down in Paris on June the 8th and 9th, 2017. Now, we're really honored to be one of their partners this year, and I'll be speaking alongside a killer list of individuals like Rebecca Enonchong of Apps Tech, Chris Foyalan of Mall of Africa, Marshall Wolf of Lifty Inc., Defo Mohapi of iAfrican, Ashley Lewis of the Ongeza Fund, Chidi Okpala of Atlas Maro, Dari Okuju of MFS Africa, and so many more. Now, this event will be hosted at MEDEF, which is the largest entrepreneur network in France. They represent over 750,000 companies of every size across industry, commerce, and services in France. Now, it's really quite an honor to have not only their support, but to be hosting the event in their posse. Now, what you need to do is head to afrobytes.com. That's afrobytes.com to check out the full speaker list. And while you're there, check out the promo video that will give you an even better sense of what you can expect from the event. And most importantly, don't leave without booking your seat to be at the event. You'll find it all at afrobytes.com. We can't wait to see you in Paris. And now it's on to yet another special edition of the African Tech Roundup featuring part of a fireside chat I had with Musa Kalenga. Now, we landed Musa in place of Olivier Laucher, the founder and CEO of Trace, was initially scheduled to have a sit down with me, but Olivier, of course, couldn't make it to the State of the Startup event due to hashtag first world problems. He was delayed in the US thanks to bad weather, but in his place, we got the talented digital specialist, marketing maven, author, former client partner at Facebook Africa, and current head of brand at IAB South Africa, as well as founder and CEO of a brand new ad tech startup called Microtizing, Musa Kalenga. So without any further ado, here's how that conversation went down. So Musa, really, our fireside chats are really an extension of the African Tech Conversation series that we host online. You can find them on iTunes, anywhere good podcasts are published. Wherever you're finding your podcast, you'll find African Tech Conversations. It's a great series. We only profile the best. You were on the list for the next season. You know this. so yeah, don't mess around. So he was on the bill for the next season. He wasn't going to be interviewed live, but here he is now. And what we do in that series is really we ask questions that dudes in his position never get asked. So now, among the things I didn't list is he's the former head of digital marketing at Nedbank. So before that, you founded a company called Monate Fellas. I mean, you guys turned over serious millions in your own startup, and now it's startup 2.0. You see, you're not alone. Where's our homie Daniel Rubenstein? You see, you're not alone. You're like entrepreneur 2.0 as well, with some failures along the way, right? And we're here to talk about it all. Yeah. And I want you to give me the first word that comes to mind to describe how you feel only a few months after leaving what's arguably the greatest startup of our generation, regarded by many, and that's Facebook. You've just left what many people consider the coolest gig you could have in Africa's tech ecosystem. One word to describe what it feels to be just a month away from that.
Amazing.
Why? That's surprising.
Yeah, no, I had a fantastic tenure at Facebook, which was great. And in fact, the moment of truth for me was we were invited to a conference last year for black leaders within the Facebook business. And we all ended up going to Menlo Park, which is our head office. And in the room, there was about 300 odd black people who identified with being black, and it was about black leadership. And the moment of truth for me was that the nature of the conversation we're having was pretty much about maintaining your position in Facebook and growing in the ladder, right? And I sat there and I thought, well, if arguably have the smartest people in the world in this room, and the conversation you're having is about maintaining your own status quo, there's something wrong with the conversation. And if I'm going to continue to stay in the conversation, I'm also contributing to whatever's wrong. In my mind, the conversation should be along the lines of, how do we create a bigger ecosystem for other people that are black or identify with being black? And what is it that we do as a business to be able to bring them into the ecosystem that's already been built by Facebook? So that was a personal challenge to myself. And as I said, coming from a very entrepreneurial background, I realized that I was either going to be part of the problem or part of the solution.
Is Facebook the kind of place where you can express that kind of thing? Like, I don't really like
it is
what I'm hearing in this meeting.
Yes, it absolutely is. The reality is that particular conference was the first of its kind. So these things will take time. So over time it'll get better, and over a period we might address those issues. But as you know, down in Africa, we don't have time. We don't have the luxury of being able to sit and think about what to do next. So for me, it is a very personal decision to say, well, how am I going to participate in some of the things which I think are important for our not only economic transformation, but for to change the lives of African people.
So I know Musa so long. I know him when he had cornrows in his head. I'm serious. This guy used to dance hip hop. Okay. And here's confession. I modeled much of what I've done career-wise in terms of what this guy, he's my age mate, but he feels like a mentor as well. And I very rarely admit that on this show because I'd like to hold my, I like to be in charge. But I like to know what I'm doing. Yeah. So, there's a story I want to take you back to the Monate Fellas days, which is the startup really that helped me start to define, hey, you can start your own thing and actually really make money. Because at the time, really my notion of being an independent producer or a freelancer was really just finding new and better ways to sell my time.
Sure.
And you redefined that for me. By going, actually, you can build business around this thing. Yeah. So I'm going to take you back to a story that you told me. I'm not going to mention names, but it was quite pivotal in your journey in that company.
Yeah.
You had this incredible contract around the 2010 World Cup.
Yeah.
And you got this massive contract to service a really big name listed financial group with a lot of interesting services.
Yes.
It was a multi-million rand deal.
Correct.
And they didn't pay you.
Correct.
You sued them and then realized that your lawyers were their lawyers.
Correct.
Only they didn't disclose it until you were, 3 months into the lawsuit.
Correct.
Okay. Really reputable name that has its, one of the bigger buildings here in Sandton.
Yeah.
So I want you to draw a line from that situation and try, I'm going to use that as an anchor for you sort of describing your mindset as a startup founder.
Yeah.
Then trudging through sort of entrepreneurship through these big firms to being an entrepreneur once again.
Yeah, sure. There's actually been so much that's happened since you're taking me back to a place.
Yeah, dog. He did not know I was going to bring that up.
Right. So as you mentioned, we had a really great contract with a great business that gave us the opportunity to essentially land their messaging leading up to the World Cup. So it was all about activation, creating excitement, strategic positioning of what they were doing. But a lot of it was happening in kind of outlying areas, not necessarily Joburg. So it was the Northwest and those kind of places. One of the conditions for that particular contract was that we partner with a local service provider. And at the time, we had never gone into any of those kind of agreements. So the consortium that we needed to form was to eventually, obviously, translate the value that we were going to create, be it monetary or skill, back into the community, which in principle, I don't think anybody can fault or argue with. So, we were young and we got this great contract. So we thought, how bad can this be? So we signed up and we got to working. The challenge was the people that we were partnered up with to work with. Was kind of one of those entrepreneurs. Jimmy comes to Joburg, gets a nice qualification, goes back to the city. Now he sells toilet paper. He's a media mogul. He's a mining specialist. He's one of those kind of entrepreneurs.
There's always a pharmaceutical contract.
Absolutely.
Supplying needles or something to a hospital. Always.
Exactly. There's always something in there. Garden services, everything, whatever you want. He's that guy. So we were coming in with quite a professional approach in our skill and what we were going to contribute. And here comes this character who just does everything, and he's known for that within his context. But for us to get the work, we had to partner with with them because I wasn't quite black enough even at that time.
Yeah, because you're Zambian, and I mentioned it in the intro. But
yeah.
you're still a passport holder.
I am still a passport.
He's a passport holding
Yeah.
Zambian.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But in South Africa, you couldn't be recognized fully for BE points if you naturalized after 94. So I was black, but not quite. So we partnered with this outfit, and we started to do the work, and we delivered. I mean, our end of the bargain was to make sure that things worked, and his end of the bargain was to manage the politics and the rest of it, which we did. And come to the last week before we actually press play, client comes back to us and says, "Look, we want to do all these really amazing additional things," and we thought, you know what? We don't mind doing it because we want to deliver value. You know, there's always the stigma of black businesses dropping the ball last minute, can't deliver under pressure,
or not being big picture.
Exactly. So we're like, we're not gonna fall into that. We're gonna deliver, and we're gonna over deliver. In fact, so that our reputation is intact, which we did. So we were taking all these briefs telephonically from this client who was like, "Oh, we need this," and I was like, "We'll do it." "Or we need this, we'll do it." So you're in the mix, and you're just churning stuff out. I think I can mention figures now. I think the contract initially, we had about 3.5 million we had to deliver on. We eventually delivered about 6 million rands worth of value, right? And the 6 million, additional 2.5 million wasn't part of the contract. And because we had been going through the process and agreeing over the phone, yes, of course, yeah, we'll do it. Well, she turned around and she went, "Well, where did we agree to that?" And obviously this is after the fact, and you've gone out and you've done all the stuff.
What did you learn, bro? Like, what's the two or three things, like straight out of that situation?
Yeah.
What did you learn that you now used in the roles that would come after that?
I think the most obvious one is pen to paper. I mean, gentleman's agreement in the context of working with a business that's listed in big business doesn't actually hold water, because they'll turn around and she turned around, it was her, but imagine she had left and someone else had come in, as an example. So pen to paper as far as the contract obligation, the deliverables, et cetera. We thought by committing it to Word and maybe sending an email and that kind of stuff, but eventually it wasn't sufficient. The second thing is understand the ecosystem of relationships. So the client that we were servicing, I eventually then found out her relationship with the guy who was the member of the consortium. And they had some shenanigans on the side. But I, coming into the equation, I was completely unsighted to that. And I didn't do my due diligence to understand who the characters were that we were dealing with. Once again, coming into it, wanting to deliver, wanting to move quickly, you make all these assumptions that everybody's in there to do the right thing. So I think those are the two key things that I learned. And then, as you mentioned, coming out of that, we tried to get our money back. We spent 18 months fighting with them.
Did you get it back?
No, we didn't.
No.
Eventually, the amount we were racking up in lawyers' fees was almost double the amount we're claiming back. So it was kind of one of those that we were never going to win. So we had to walk away from it. At the end of the day, the third lesson is that you need to be clear about what your cutoff point is. Because yes, we could have continued trying to fight it, and we could have. But the amount of energy and time, let alone resources, that was taken away from other things. We were still a startup, so I still had other things to do. I couldn't spend my time strategizing about what the best way to position this court case would be, and sitting with lawyers who were sitting in the same room as. I just thought, from an energy perspective, I need to draw the line somewhere, which I did. And unfortunately, it left us in a really, really deep hole.
You had to close the business. You had to
exactly.
do something different.
Exactly. And closing the business meant us.
I met you the day, like we met the week you did it. You actually were like, "This is going to be over."
Yeah. No. I mean, and it was the reality was that we closed the business as a going concern. But because of my nature and my character, the debt I took on in my personal capacity. Yeah. So because a lot of suppliers I knew and a lot of people were doing, favors and had delivered at last minute, I kind of took that on personally to say, look, I don't want to damage the relationship. So, we'll make a plan over a period and, you sort it out. But, passing that on to the business and trying to continue to make it work in that form, wasn't actually going to work. So that was unfortunate, but a huge learning at the same time. I think, to this day, I think it was my first kind of major finger burn.
I have another confession to make, and this is not like a confession session, but it's not something I haven't told you before, is that I fully expected you to start something else. It was an expectation I had of you because you were a mentor in terms of like doing stuff I aspired to and everything. I thought, no, he's going to bounce back and he's going to start something new. Then you went corporate, bruh.
Yes. No,
I'm like,
but take a step back. So
homie did what? Because I see this, because I mean, we're friends and stuff, but we're not in each other's lives all the time. Yeah. So it popped up like on LinkedIn or something. I'm like, dude's gonna do me like this.
No, wait.
And I'm thinking, if I feel like this, like, what about the people he started out with who thought, we're in it together, bruh? Next thing he's like, hit a digital at Nedbank Group, people. I'm like, nah.
No, but wait, you're jumping a very important step.
Am I jumping an important step?
Yeah,
set me straight.
Yeah, so after the Munati fellas, the timing was interesting. So I then went, because I did a lot of work with Tebe Kalafeng, who was a mentor, and he runs the brand.
Legend.
So we spent a lot of time working at arm's length on lots of crazy projects like the Transnet rebrand, University of Pretoria kind of stuff. So we had always worked kind of him there, me here. And he'd been courting me for a long time. He wanted me to come and work with him kind of full time, and I didn't want that. So around about the time I closed Munati Fellas, we actually almost did, we retired the brand and we took kind of as many resources and as many of our clients into the IHOP group, which is a division of the brand leadership stable. So that was the immediate...
Which Tebe owns, of course.
Correct. That was the immediate step right after Munati Fellas. And that was an 18-month journey. And once again, huge learnings there. On paper, it was the perfect agreement. Tebe is stalwart, brought Nike into Africa, that all
like
these
brand
things.
Africa, guys. I mean, if any country is doing really well at branding themselves, chances are brand leadership is involved.
Absolutely.
Period. Yeah.
And then here's this young Thundercat, which is me trying to do new things. So it made sense, but we never really aligned on our vision as far as what I truly wanted to achieve and what he truly wanted to achieve. So it was an 18-month journey.
Was there a breakup? Like, was there like home?
Yeah, it was.
The bromance had to come to an end.
The bromance ended, but it ended on the basis that I was no longer having fun anymore, right?
Yeah.
Munati Fellas was fun. Those young people were creating stuff, were acting foolish, which was like a train station. It was just fun.
Now there's this guy, and he's got a strong vision. There's you with your vision. It's not working.
Absolutely.
So then when do you go, okay, let me go corporate?
No, you see, now you just...
Nah, bro. I'm like, nah.
So the corporate thing was, I was courting Nedbank. So I was trying to pitch for business with them, funny enough. So them and SAB at the same time. So when I was pitching for business with SAB, I was talking to Nedbank. We're trying to sell ORM solutions in the early days of ORM. You need to be online, managing your reputation, blah, blah, blah. The guy who was working at SAB left SAB, as these things usually happen, and then he incidentally went into a position at Nedbank. So I was having conversations on both sides, and he then picked up the conversation at Nedbank, and I said to him, dude, I've been sitting here for almost 3 to 4 months pitching business to you guys. They don't get it. You guys are not going to make progress. You're not going to say. I was like, well, give me a month. He took a month, true to his word, and he came back to me and said, look, the reason why nothing has happened is that we actually have no capacity internally. We don't have a group digital team. We don't have this. We don't have that. So, yes, you'll be preaching to these guys, but they won't actually be able to implement. So then he made a throwaway statement. It's like, why don't you come and start the team? So I was like, nah, man. I'm not, when you've been an entrepreneur, you're like,
Nedbank at the time, let's be honest, like that brand was so
unappealing,
guys. And the guys, I have to be honest because that's saying a lot, because 4 years of my life were dedicated to a show called It's My Biz.
Yeah.
It was then the biggest business advice show on African television. We topped out at something like 6 million viewers a month, a week. I was talking to businesses all over the place. It was incredible. It was like a free MBA, meeting all the captains of industry. It grew the Nedbank small business brand from nothing. Like there were nothing of nothings in the run status of and I have to say this. I mean, they're ridiculous to market leading.
Yeah.
In so many respects, not in no small part to that show, and to the digital efforts that came online in Musa's tenure. So I'm just trying to give you perspective, because it almost sounds like, well, that sounds perfect. Sounds perfect now, when Nedbanks kind of found their feet, and most banks really have teams of this nature. This position didn't exist then.
No, it didn't. And I think that was one of the things that was appealing, because
you were one of the
my first reaction was like, corporate, not.
And what did they call it? They said, okay, we'll call it.
They didn't have a name. So he says, I said
you came up with a name?
Yeah. So he said to me, what are you going to do? I said to him, what am I going to do? He says, I don't know. I said, who's currently in that position? He said, I don't know. And all those things were like really positive things for me, because I thought, that's a unique position to be in.
And so just to understand, are you reporting to who are you reporting to?
To him. I'm reporting to my at the time he was kind of a compatriot in the market.
In the market.
So I was reporting to him, yeah.
Were you like an Exco resource or not? It was
no,
still
I was reporting into Exco.
You were reporting into Exco.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I had these conversations with them, we were quite candid, because I was like, I'll give you my concerns. Like, I don't think I'm going to fit. I think, my experience is going to either cause a complete mess, or it's going to frustrate me. And then he said to me, look, there's nothing there that currently exists, so you're going to build from scratch. for the first time, I was spending someone else's money. So I was like, I can do this. And they gave me, and he gave me.
You were just making it rain.
Yeah. I was just. But he gave me carte blanche, and to this day, I credit him, Sidney Mbella, great leader, because he created the environment that was right for me, against a lot of people in the business saying, "Don't hire this guy."
And Andy just hating on this in the sidelines, going, "Hey, this homie sold out."
Yeah, no. It was a bit of a
I didn't
fight.
know the story.
No, it was a bit of a fight. I mean, I think Nedbank, the brand itself, is risk averse.
Yeah.
So come this Thundercat guy, who people don't know, don't identify with. He's been in entrepreneurship.
Who is he? Like he's Zambian?
Exactly.
What is he?
So Sydney batted for me, and I went into the position, and fortunately.
And you knocked it out of the park, and I'm not saying that lightly because I really had sight on that. I also grew in my role, by the way. In that role, I was reporting to an exco member who was directly responsible which is crazy because that was a setup to this business as well, where Nedbank took everything they were spending on infomercials and trusted the production company that brought me online to spend this by buying out early prime time airtime and making this show with they thought was going to last one season. Then it just takes everything by storm, and then digital comes online. So there are a lot of firsts in that scenario. And there's something else that a lot of people don't know. A little thing that you and Dominique Collett might have in common, or nearly had in common.
Yeah, very
close. So for some reason or whatever reason, Nedbank just, like, the fun there just starts to slow. And I kind of know why.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's the typical. I mean, I was not mature in a corporate context, so I did what entrepreneurs would do.
And the timelines as well. Come on.
No, look, I mean, within 9 months, my team was set up, and I made myself redundant because that's what entrepreneurs do. You want to go in
good
there.
ones.
Yeah, well, the good ones, yeah. But corporate culture is fundamentally about the opposite. It's create a system that's so reliant on you that you ensure your job doesn't go away.
Stay around,
exactly.
Brah.
So I struggled. I mean, I got to 9 months in and I thought, geez, what now? And I truly believe there was an opportunity at the time, for the taking, for any forward-thinking bank that wanted to really become consumer-centric and adopt digital solutions to actually take the lead. So I kept on prompting, and we need to do this, we need to do that. And the reality at the time is the business just wasn't ready. So, we had gone as far as we could have gone for that moment. And essentially
you outgrew it.
Yeah. Well, I outgrew waiting around because they said, chill, the business will catch up. And I was like, well, I'm not in that movie, unfortunately. So, I went
different ending.
Yeah, I went and did my master's. They paid for that. They bribed me to stick around, which I did. I can't say bribe and bank in the same sentence. You guys know what I mean.
You can if you want to also say lawsuit. You know what I mean? If you don't mind that, then
okay, they coerced me. Let me put it that way.
Even that's a bit dodgy. They convinced.
Incentivized. There we go.
They incentivized. We've got lawyers in the building. All right, cool.
So I did that. I came back really fired up, really excited. Lots of great thinking, exposed to businesses all over the world. Wanted to change their business. Came up with a great strategy around the mother that ate the child, and that's where the time thing came in.
Yes.
Did my research.
This is one of his talks. Like, he does talks. He's amazing. Book him. Yeah, but whatever. Carry on.
Did my research, and that's where I discovered time.
You also inspired me to study further. At the time, I signed up for an amazing MBA with a foreign, really reputable institution that will remain unnamed for now, because it suddenly realized the lesson I learned from watching you and going, hey, I need one of those, is I applied what I talked about earlier, a copy and paste approach.
Right.
I'm now really happily doing a master's in digital interactive media.
Fantastic.
And that's what I meant I should have done when I first got the urge to study further.
Got it.
And so, shout out to any of the kids out there who think they want to look at someone and just basically copy their career. You're not likely to be happy doing that. That's my take on it.
Yeah. And
so anyway, so you are going to, so I see you do that. You do the MBA. You finish there. You do the MBA. You take their MBA, their MBA, and you move along, and you keep it moving. And this is where I'm joking. It was yours. You earned it.
Yeah.
Now then, there's time offering you a job.
Yes.
Unfortunately, which was going to be an amazing thing. So you nearly became part of the incredible founding team that would later sell for 40 million Australian dollars, reputedly.
That was a timing issue.
So, no, let me finish. And then come back to South Africa and sell a 10% stake to African Rainbow Capital and Countries. So you nearly became a part of that team.
I would have never done that. Just for the record.
Okay, you never sold. Yeah. So anyway, you only said no because...
It was just a timing issue.
Okay.
It was a timing issue. I mean,
Many thanks to the homie Musa Kalenga for being such a great sport. I love how you can always count on Musa to tell it like it is. Now, I know we're totally leaving you hanging, but not to worry. There's a lot more awesomeness still left to listen to in that conversation, and you'll find it in its entirety by heading to africantechroundup.com. Go ahead and click on the African Tech Conversations tab in the main menu and listen away. And so, listen, fam, I wouldn't want you to think for a second that I, consider producing this show a burden, but I have to tell you that putting out 101 weekly episodes in a row has definitely taken its toll on me and the small team I am privileged to work with. Now, I'll be taking 3 weeks off starting next week to visit Southeast Asia in what will be the very first proper vacation that my wife Taliso and I will have had since we got married just over 3 years ago. And so if you notice a little less chatter from me on social media, as well as from the African Tech Roundup social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, well, listen, your boy is just resting up to take on the rest of the year. There'll be fresh content for you to enjoy over the 3 weeks while I'm away. So do subscribe on iTunes or wherever else you are listening to this right now to get notified when new content pops up. We'll pause on the newsletter for 3 weeks though. But what I can promise you as well is some pretty awesome content that the team and I are plotting to produce upon my return. I'm tempted to tease you with some details, but just think new voices, great insights, quite a bit of travel planned. Yeah, but I don't want to promise anything because it's all still sort of up in the air in many respects. But I share this in the spirit of hoping that you'll stick with us, and we just want you to know that we love what you've helped us create so far by way of a highly engaged listening community, and we'd love for you to keep that up. We definitely want to keep that going throughout 2017 and way into the future. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, comments, questions, if you have any ideas that you think might add value to our show whatsoever, please do reach out to us via email. The email address is still hello@africantechroundup.com. But before I go, one last time, I'd like to thank the team behind the AfroBytes Tech Conference 2017 for sponsoring this episode of the African Tech Roundup. We truly can't wait to see you all in Paris come June 8th and 9th. Now, for more info on that conference and to register, once again, do head to afrobytes.com. That's afrobytes.com. Right, so that's it until the show returns to its regular format in the week following May Day. That'll be the week of Monday, May the 1st, 2017. In that week, we will drop a brand new episode, which you can definitely look forward to. But in the meantime, I'm Andile Masubu. Thanks for listening, and do take care, Africa.